Here we go. This is Friday, August 31st, and I'm going to begin my comments by saying I'm lost, Mr. McGee. I'm lost. I want to understand what's going on in here, but I'm having a tendency to not feel like everything is quite in place yet. Which, don't panic, we're only at the end of ostensibly the first week, and because we are at the end of the first week, the reality is some of us will feel a little lost. But can I try and make this now really simple for you? And I think as I say this, some of you will go, oh, I get it. So listen really carefully as I explain to you what's the kind of general overview of the course one more time. Think about it this way. In this class, we only have 2 state standards that I have to worry about. 2. That's it. Students often will say, man, that class is such a hard class. And I will say, you know, quite the opposite. I'm inclined to say that it's a fairly easy class in the regards that there's only 2 state standards. Reading and writing. That's it. That's it. That's all I got to do. But here's the challenge for me. The only way I'm going to know that you meet state standards in reading is for you to read something. And the only way I'm going to know that you meet state standards in writing is for you to write something. But stay with me here. I can't just take your word for it when I say, have you read? And you go, yeah, I read. Or when I asked you, did you write something? And you go, yeah, I wrote something. Not good enough. So you have to go through a process of showing me that you actually have done the reading and the writing. Once you demonstrate to me you've done those 2 things, I can A, pass you, and B, make sure you meet the state standards. So how will I check to make sure you're reading? Well, primarily we use our textbook. I give you an assigned text, you read that text. But wait a minute. Same problem again. You come to class and I say, did you read the text, Story of an Hour? And you go, yeah, I read it. Well, now wait a minute. I can't take your word for it. I've got to have some proof that you actually read it. That is what we call annotation. Annotating is just reading and taking notes. It's the way you prove to me that you have actually done the reading. Make sense? Once a week, you will put all of your previous week's annotations together and you'll hand them in to me so that I know you've read. Does that make sense? That's what happens once a week. You'll hand in your annotations to me. There's different ways I could have done this. I could have done it daily. Every day hand in your annotations to me. Or, for those of you who studied with me in previous years, I did it on the day of the exam, didn't I? You would hand in the annotations to me. I would give you some plus points on the test sheet. What I've done is I've shifted the focus to allow you to get letter grades in the grade book, percentage grades in the grade book, for doing the annotations. Here's why. I had students that did a whole bunch of annotation work, wrote a 93 on the examination, Scantron test, and then they already had 10 extra points from other things. The points for the annotations didn't even count for them because once you hit 100, you're done. I can't go beyond that in my grade book, right? So what I'm doing is I'm wanting to reward you for doing the annotation work, right? But it also is your way to let me know that you're actually doing the reading. You can tell me you read Story of an Hour, but I can't take your word for it, sorry. So you actually sit down and do some notes. Those notes we call annotation, and you read on 3 levels. You answer 3 questions. What does Story of an Hour say? Basic plot line. What does Story of an Hour mean? Major themes, messages, and literary analysis stuff. That's 2A and 2B. How do you relate to the story? Other texts. And then, of course, yourself personally. If you go through the process of doing those annotations, then I, of course, hurrah, get to say that you met state standards in reading. And of course, you also are guaranteed to pass the class. But wait, that's not the only one. The other state standard is writing. So, in writing, I'm going to ask you to do some writing, which is to say responding. Okay? And the way you do that is in the form of the writing assessment. once a week, again, once a week, you will hand in to me a writing assessment. That is to say, a paper that you type up and you hand it in to me. Sometimes I will give you the assignment for the writing assessment. I will say, I want you to write on 3 important messages from Story of an Hour. Other times, you're going to get to make up your own topic. You can decide what you want to write on. Got me? But wait a minute, I'm not quite finished. Stay with me just a little longer. While we do have 2 state standards, reading and writing, the only way you can ever get Story of an Hour read is to know that it's assigned to you. The only way that you're going to meet the writing expectation is to know that a paper is due. Knowing what is due is what we call master schedule. Okay? I have given you that information on the course outline. I have asked you to take that information off of the course outline and put it in your day planner that you then will reference or look at every day. I also have asked you to take the information off the course outline and to put it under headings. We call this Master Schedule Part 2. Put it under headings so that you can see what work specifically happens in this class. We have some annotation work. We have some writing assessment work. We have some vocab and grammar work. And when you create this kind of a document, you're able to see what's the primary work of the course. The other thing is, with Master Schedule Part 2, if you're a light at the end of the tunnel kind of person, then you can start marking off every time you get something done. At 9 weeks, are you ready for this? Half of that stuff in Master Schedule Part 2 should be marked off. And it's very simple, and I make this promise to all my students. As long as you hand in material to me, you get a passing grade. Okay? Now the challenge for us is to, of course, stay up on the workload, because we always have new assignments coming every week, which is why Wednesdays are so important. Why? Because on Wednesday, I go into detail on what specifically is due for the next week and a half, up through the following week's Friday. And I always make sure that you know exactly what's going on. That's why, for example, Mr. Hernandez was absent on Wednesday. Huge that he would have been on the phone with his study buddy that night, talking about what did McGee say was the specific deadlines for the next week and a half. Why would that matter? Because there's things that change. I update the master schedule, but more importantly, I give you the specifics of what's coming. The bottom line is this, and now I really need you to listen to me and look at me. The bottom line is this, for those of you that have said to me, I feel kind of lost, I don't know exactly what's going on. It is this simple. You must hear what I'm saying right now. Every single night of every single week of this semester and next semester, you have homework. Every night. Mr. McGee, that just makes me torqued off. I'm real sorry. But you can't do football practice without hitting, and you can't do basketball practice without shooting, and you can't do this class without homework. What homework? Reading and writing. That's pretty much it, because those are our only 2 state standards. So every evening when you go home, you know that you have reading and writing to do. How will I know that you did it? You're in the reading going to take annotations that you hand in every week. You in the writing are going to be working on papers. Sometimes those papers are just type papers that you hand in to me for plus points. Other times those papers you'll hand in to me for an actual assessment score, like we will have next Wednesday, where you will put together a packet. Now here's the deal. I want to give you those points next Wednesday. So you're going to hand in a packet. All of your old annotations from this week will be in that packet. And your writing paper will also be in that packet. But here's the thing. I teach over 100 students. I don't want to have to flip through all of those packets to find out if all that work got done or not. So you're going to create a cover page for me for that packet. On that cover page, you're going to explain to me, Mr. McGee, I got these annotations done. Mr. McGee, I got this paper that I wrote done. That's what the cover page is for. Got me? You'll list all the work that's due, and then you'll list the word complete if you got it done. Partial if it's only half done, and then incomplete if it's not done. It's really simple. If you hand in to me a packet, and at the annotations part it all says complete, and at the writing it says complete, you know you're guaranteed. I absolutely promise you that you pass. The only question is what kind of score that you'll have at the end of the semester in terms of a letter grade. If I see it on your cover sheet, everything has been done, then what I'm looking for inside your packet is how well it's been done. Does that make sense? And my job is to help you do that better. So I'm not going to jack your writing early on, point out all your mistakes. That wouldn't make any sense, would it? I'm trying to teach you so you can get better at it. Does that make sense? So even if you're not totally sure what you're doing with the writing, at least try something. At least you know you got to get me 5 paragraphs, even though it's not that great. I have students that won't hand me anything because they're afraid it's going to look and sound so bad. I'm like, dude, you got to try and get some points. Make sense? Now, every Wednesday, I go through a detailed master schedule. Every Friday, we do what I call homework to-do list. Homework to-do list. By that I mean, I kind of review for you what I recommend that you be doing for the weekend. I do this in a certain order of priority. I do it the same way every Friday. I look backwards, 1. I look backwards and I talk about makeup work. Then 2, I look forwards to the first day you're back to school next week. And then finally, number 3, I look beyond that day to say you might want to think about this as well. Got me? So if you're not here on Friday, it's crucial that you get with your study buddy and say, what did the old man say about master schedule to do homework for the weekend? Or you can always, if I'm videotaping it, you can always check and see, right? Did he go through it? For example, now I'm videotaping, so, even if what I go through now you don't completely get, you can go back and check it. It'll be uploaded over the weekend. Got me? Let's now do this real quickly. Homework to-do list 1. If there's any part of the master schedule deadline, it's right there on the whiteboard. If there's any part of the master schedule deadline you don't have done, you want to get that done. Now here's the deal. Normally my rule would apply that if you miss the deadline today and you hand me the packet in for master schedule on Tuesday, I've got to take 25% off. That would be my normal rules. I am abandoning that rule for 1 day. So if there's anything that I'm outlining right now that you don't have done, don't hand in your master schedule today. Hand it in on Tuesday. Remember, no school on Monday, right? And I will still give you full credit. I will still give you full credit. Now, understand, I'm only going to be doing that for specifically this assignment. Do you got me? Does everybody understand what I just said? So, as you look, do you have from that checkoff sheet all of your supplies? If the answer to that is no, you know you need to get it done. Do you have your student survey, your typed goals typed and signed? Do you have your rule sheet signed? Do you have your Learn Strong document signed? Do you have your master schedule part 2 done and signed? All of that typed, all of that ready to hand in that order. Now, if you have a typed paper that you want some credit for on your test sheet, and you didn't hand it in to me yesterday, you're going to give that to me first in your Omega file, along with your test sheet. Don't put it together right now. I'll give you time to do that. And that's what the whiteboard says behind me in green. But remember, before you hand in your typed paper to me with red ink, make sure that you mark in the left-hand margin, make sure that you mark the thesis and each of the points of validation topic sentences, and make sure that you put EXP next to where you have an example from the story of an hour, in the body of the paper. Again, don't do that now. Just stay with me. You'll have time to do that. I want to now go through the second part of the homework to-do list. This is the first. The next thing you should write down, if you already have got all your master schedule work done, is any annotation work from this week. Now I got to make a change. This is huge. Write it down. There was a mistake, a typo on the course outline. I gave you the wrong pages for today's annotations. I need to change it. We are not saying that the pages of today are 24 to 31, but rather 16 to 31. Outstanding. I know you're juniors, and so when you saw that, you recognized I had you start reading in the middle of that introductory materials, so I'm sure that you probably said, you just got it wrong, and the loony screwed up again, and but let's make sure. I will give you time this hour, if you need it, to do some of this reading, okay? But some of you will probably use time this hour to do other things. I understand that too. Number 3. Homework for the weekend. Number 3, after you've done the master schedule stuff, if you didn't get it done, after you're working on your annotations of last week, if you didn't get them done, of this week. Number 3, I recommend that you get your cover sheet done for the reading writing assessment packet number 1 that's coming due next Wednesday. Why do I recommend that you get it done? Bring it with you on Tuesday. Show up to class with it done. The whole packet can be done. The essay, everything done, stapled together. And then you can show it to me and say, will this get me full points? Is this what you want? Now, some of you are doing this as early as Orange Period today, and that's awesome. You can ask me in advance. Now, if I've read your type paper, I'll be able to even be more definitive. If I haven't read your type paper over 3 messages from Story of an Hour, it may be hard for me to be real definitive about the points I can give you, but I can at least give you general observations about your cover sheet, so bring it with you on Tuesday. Dude, it isn't due until Wednesday. I realize that, but I'd always suggest you bring it the day early. Make sense? And that way, if you've got anything that needs to be changed on it, you can do that. Number 4. I recommend that you get the readings done for next week, pages 32 through 77. If you get those pages read over the extended holiday weekend, 32 to 77, you will be able then to kind of be on the front end of the wave of work. You won't be behind. Okay? Do you have any questions for me about any of those deadlines? Now, what you're going to do now, for those of you who have your master schedule stuff all done, you're going to sit down with your colleague who will take out a red ink pen, and your grader is going to ask to see all those things listed and check it off. If everything is done, at the bottom of that page, I'm going to see the word complete. If there's something missing, I'm going to see the word incomplete, and there's going to be something listed there as to what's incomplete. But think about this. Since I'm allowing you to hand in this packet to me next Tuesday, I would recommend that you not hand a packet in that is incomplete. Get everything done. By the way, if you want to staple all that stuff that's going in the Omega file, that's fine. Or if you want to leave it separate, that's also fine. Remember, if you've got the type paper of Story of an Hour 3 messages that you want me to see, so I can give you plus points on the test sheet, and also it will help you to get ready for the writing assessment of next Wednesday, since it's the same paper. Leave it in your Omega file, but make sure it's first. The first thing I need to see is your test sheet. That will be code language for me that says, Mr. McGee, I'm handing in my type paper. Please take a look at it. And I should have it finished by the end of the day. Which is to say, after school, if you want to stop back in and pick it up, you can kind of see what I said about your paper. For sure, I'll have those comments back to you by Tuesday, yes? Okay, when we come back to school. Do you have any questions for me about any of the logistics of our course together? Okay, good. I'll let you now go to work. By the way, let me make a quick observation.